Hi, everyone. Good evening and welcome to tonight's session on getting started with Salesforce. And this is the day 3. We're going to be covering security controls and sharing models in Salesforce. This is one of the most important aspects of Salesforce. Without the security controls and sharing models, you cannot work as a consultant. And without it, you cannot effectively work as an admin as well. So tonight, CATS is very, very important. These are the things that makes you a good Salesforce consultant. So please pay attention and try to learn as much as possible outside of the class as well, because that's the only way you can reinforce your knowledge of Salesforce. Having said that, let's quickly go to one of the things or expectations from Salesforce. Again, I got this expectation based on the curriculum, okay? If you want to get the curriculum or where I'm getting things from, you go to trailhead.salesforce.com. Then you go to the credentials which you want to learn. For example, you go to certification and you can select administrator. After you select that, you get the exam guide. The exam guide guides you and show you what and how to learn for your certification exam. More importantly, it shows you where Salesforce want to test you. Okay, so we've done all this. This is where we are right now. And this is what is left for us in this session. Once we can complete this today, we'll be good for the next session. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my slide just to show you that the most important aspect of this slide is security control based on features and capabilities of Salesforce. Okay. Also, you need to understand the appropriate use of custom profile and permission set using various profile settings and permissions. We're going to demonstrate everything today. And hopefully after today, you should be good for this section of Salesforce. Okay. So in terms of bullet points, I always try to structure my training around the bullet points. The key areas which I'm going to be touching today is how to use and create standard on custom profiles. You want to understand object level security. You want to understand the field level security. You want to understand permission sets and permission set groups. Okay. You want to understand the role hierarchy. You want to understand organization-wide default. What does that mean? You want to understand how to share records within Salesforce. You want to understand criteria and owner-based sharing, and you want to understand the use of public groups, okay? We have a lot to cover, so I'm going to go straight right in and start explaining what all this means. Again, if today is your first day of joining us and you're totally lost, please try to watch my videos. The previous 2 days show you how to start your Trailhead, how to register an account, and how to go into your hands-on hub. So once you register for an account, to your right-hand side, you will see the hands-on hubs. Click on it and you get to this page, okay? So to launch you can have as many hands-on hubs as possible, but try to maintain one hands-on hub throughout this training, and you can maintain another hands-on hubs outside of this training, maybe while you're learning, okay? But again, whatever you're learning, please can you mute so you don't disrupt the class? Whatever you're learning, make sure that you're associating it to your profile, okay? Associate whatever you're learning to your profile. That would ensure that you're getting the points needed for your trainings, okay? The mandate, or I wouldn't say the mandate, but the expectation is you have 10,000 points at the end of this training. If you're learning without subscription, it's totally up to you. But if you're learning with a subscription, I'm going to ensure that you have 10,000 points. Okay. Anytime a recruiter wants to get in touch, sometimes they might ask for how many badges you have. and how many points you have on Trailhead, but that's not the criteria. Sometimes, most of the time, they ask for your certification. Okay, so I'm going to launch the Trailhead. Okay, this is how to launch the Trailhead. You click on launch and you are in your Trailhead. So the first thing you get to see is the front end. Again, remember, the first thing you get to see is the front end. If you want to go to the back end as an admin, you click on the setup and you get to the back end. Remember, the back end is different from the front end, okay? Just remember that the back end is different from the front end. This is the back end where the configurations and everything is being done. This is the front end where you get to see what configuration is being done at the back end. So before I go into security controls and sharing models, I'm going to try to explain one or two things. Okay? What are the things you need to know? The first thing you need to know is in Salesforce, you store records in an object. In Salesforce, you store records in an object. Okay? This is an example of an object. This is an example of an object. So you have an account object and you have records in an account object. This is the fields. These are the fields in this object. Okay? These are the fields in these objects. What do I mean by that? Every object can be, in any object, you can create fields in this object. So when you create a record inside an object, you give it values, okay? So this is the object, this is the field, and these are the values inside the fields, meaning that if I want to create a new account record, I would have an account name, account site, billing state, phone, and the likes. These are records. So if you click on one of these records, you will see details of that records. So now you're going to details of these records. And the details of these records are Babatope Olajide, account number CD65CO92, account type customer direct, account industry apparel, our annual revenue is this, and the like. So I'm going back again. We have the objects that holds all the information about the account. All this information is structured in a field, and inside the field, we have records, data, okay? So now, let's now go back into the main topic for today, which is security controls. When you use Salesforce, Salesforce makes an org secure by using different strategies. The very first strategy is the object level security. What is the object level security? The object level security is essentially what kind of security is in place to protect these objects. Let's say, for instance, you have a manager and you have a team member. A manager can see all the records in an account object, but a team member can only see the records they created in an account object. That's a security control feature from Salesforce. So now how do you ensure that a manager can see all the records and a team member can only see fewer records? You start from profiles. So let's go to profiles. I told you earlier, the profiles determines what the user can see within the Salesforce org. The profile is the most powerful thing you can assign to a user. Profile determines the level of access to an object. The profile determines the level of access to an object. Okay, let's go back to when we're creating a user. I know I'm repeating certain things, but I want it to be reinforced. I want you guys to remember it. When you create a new user, you assign a profile. This profile you assign to the user determines what they can see in the object. So now, let's create a new user, or let's use our existing user and assign a profile to that user. But I wouldn't assign any of this profile. I will assign a new profile. Why am I assigning a new profile? I'm assigning a new profile because I don't want to use an existing profile created by Salesforce. If you want to assign an existing profile by Salesforce, that's fine. But the recommendation is you need to create or clone you need to create a new profile and assign it to the user. Reason being that, imagine you want to limit certain access. If you want to limit certain access, you will be forced to edit an existing profile, which does not make sense. Because if you edit an existing profile, you will not be able to remember the default state of this profile. This is why Salesforce recommends you clone an existing profile, make the changes, and assign to a user. So now, if you have a group of users in the marketing department, would you create, if you have 10 users in the marketing department, would you create 10 different profiles for those 10 users? No. You will only create one profile and assign it to 10 users. You do not create 10 different profiles for 10 different users. So now let's imagine our new user requires certain access to the account objects. Our new user requires certain access to the account objects. How do we go about it? The first thing we do is we look for the standard profile. Why did I choose a standard profile, standard user profile? The standard user profile gives the basic access needed to all objects in Salesforce. Okay? It gives the basic access needed to all objects in Salesforce. Based on that, you can now clone the standard user profile, and you can now call it custom, or you can call it marketing, or whatever department is it. Let's call it accounting department. Accounting department. Okay? I'm calling it an accounting department because I want to create an accounting department profile. As you can see, I now have an accounting department profile. If I go back to my profiles, you will see the accounting department profile, and it is using the Salesforce license, meaning that I can assign the Salesforce license to the user, and I can assign the accounting department profile to that user. Let's go into the accounting department profile. For some of you, you will see this screen. But if you don't like this screen, you can change it. This is an enhanced profile view. Someone asked in the chat this afternoon that they could see something like this. How would they be able to see something different, which is a default profile list view? I can just disable this. And if I go back to my profiles, I will be, profiles. I click on the accounting department again. Remember the view? Previously, let me refresh this. We should have a better view now, or we should have, okay, I'm an admin. I'm an admin. So just give me 1 minute. I just want to see if this is managed from the admin level. So profile user interface, I disable that, okay? I refresh this to make sure that it's being checked. Okay, then I go to my profiles, because I want to show you what's typically what you would see if you just come from Trailhead. So if you just come from the Trailhead, you will see something like this, okay? So this is the same thing as what we saw before. The only difference is that previously we saw it condensed. So you have to click into the section before it opens up that section. But now you can see everything all at once, okay? So don't get worried, don't get scared, it's still the same thing. Now, let's go back to our profile. Remember, I want the manager to see every data, and I want just the team member to see certain data, okay? Remember, this is the object. This is the object, okay? Please mute yourself. So now, this is the account department profile. Can you mute yourself, please? Can you mute yourself, please? Thank you. I will go to Edit, and I will go to Standard Object Permissions. Standard Object Permissions controls all the standard objects you see in Salesforce. For instance, this is a service app. If you go to the sales app, you will see more objects in the tab. Can you see? We have more objects in the tab. So now, the standard object permissions determine what you can see here. I told you, profile is the God. Profile is the God. So if I take all this off from the profile of account departments, and I save, this, okay? Any user that is assigned to the accounting department will not be able to create, read, update, or delete any account record. Let's test this. I'm going to assign this user to account department, and I save. Okay? Let me log out of this user. But going forward, I wouldn't log out. I'll just go to my incognito, okay? I'll just go to my incognito and I will log in as that user going forward, okay? So please, you have to understand that I'm using two screens so I can show you what certain user will see based on what profile they have access to. So I will go back to my hands-on to log in as an admin, just to be on a to go back to my org. Then I will go and log in as that user. Okay. I want to look for that username. This is the user. And this is the username of that user. Okay. Or you can just click on that user and you can just copy the username of that user. So now I've copied the username of the user and I'll go to my other screen. I will enter the password, okay? The password, and I log in. So it's asking me for a verification code. The reason why it's asking for a verification code is because I'm logging in from a system that it is not recognized because it's incognito. I'll go to my email to see the verification code. I think just 1 minute. Let me open the email from here. This is the code Salesforce sent to me. I'll copy the code and I will log in. Now, this user I'm logging it as is a test user, okay? This is the guy or the user that was assigned the accounting department. What can you observe from here? If you go to the admin can do what? Admin can see the account in the tab, but the user cannot see the account in the tab. Do you know why? Because if you go to the profile of that user, which is the accounting department, I have disabled or I have removed everything possible. In the standard objects permissions, I have removed everything possible for account objects. This is what Salesforce use to protect data. This is what they call the object level security. The object level security protects you from doing certain activities on the objects. What are the certain activities you can do on an object? The certain activities you can do on an object is or are the read, meaning that can you read data from an object? Create, meaning that can you create data in an object? Edit, meaning that can you edit a record in an object? Delete, meaning that can you delete a record in an object? Now, I'm going to enable the read permission for the accounting profile, and I'm going to save it. Now that I've edited and I've given the accounting department a read permission for the accounting object, I will go to my other screen. Previously, we did not have accounts on the tab. I will refresh this and the accounts will pop up because now the user can now see the account records. The reason why the user can see the account record is because I have edited the profile and I have given the user the read account permission. This is, again, the object level security actions. What are the object level security actions? The object level security actions determines what the user can do, can see in an object. These are the read, create, edit, delete, view all, modify all permissions. I'm going to come back to view all, modify all later. But this is what they call the CRUD, or some people call it CRED. Create, read, edit, delete. Create, read, update, delete. Whatever you want to call it is called CRED or CRUD operation. Now, if I go to the account objects, you will see that I can only read account records. There is nothing I can do after reading. There is nothing else I can do. I can only read records. That's because I have given just the read permission. Now, let's do something. Let me give it another permission or action. It's called create. I'm going to save. Now that I've saved this, if I go back to that test user, I will refresh this test user, and you will see that there is this new button called new. There's this button that just appeared. It's called new, meaning that this profile, this user, which was assigned to this profile called accounting department, can now create a new record, okay? Let me refresh. This guy can now create a new record. This guy can now create a new record. Why? It can create a new record because the profile has been given to create new record on the account objects. Similarly, if I give the edit permission and I save and I refresh this page, okay? I refresh this page, you will see that this guy can now edit record. Previously, the guy could not edit record, but because I have now given edit permission for the profile, remember, everything I've done is on the profile assigned to the user. The profile is the God in Salesforce. The profile assigned to the user determines what the user can do and what the user can see. Now, if you look at it, I can now edit, I can edit records, okay? I can edit record. See, the only thing I can do a lot of things, but edit is what I'm interested in. Now, let me go back and give this user edit permission, delete permission. If you give the user delete permission and you save, the user will now be able to delete a record. Let's see, I'll refresh again. And I go to, the user can now delete. Can you see how the profile determines what the user can do? The profile determines what the user can do. Now, I told you initially, I want only the manager to be able to edit and delete. No, I want the user to be able to read and create, but I want only the manager to be able to edit and delete. How would I be able to personalize my profile such that I can give my team member, okay, my teammates to read and create account records, but I only want to give my manager the ability to edit and delete a record? Would I create a new profile for my manager, or I just tick edit and delete? If I tick edit and delete, everyone that has that profile will be able to edit and delete. As a Salesforce admin, it is your responsibility to know how to configure the user. You've created a user, fine. You've given that user profile, fine. Now, they've given you a responsibility, a task. The task is, I want all my team members in a department to read and create records, but only the manager should be able to edit and delete a record. How would I be able to solve that problem as an admin? This is where the concept of permission set comes in. What is a permission set? A permission set is an extra ability. Okay, can you please mute? Please mute. Thank you. A permission set is an extra feature on Salesforce that enables you to extend. It enables you to extend the features of a profile. The permission set opens up the profile. You cannot use the permission set to control or restrict a profile. You use the profile to restrict access. You use the permission set to open up access. So now, the accounting department only has read and create on the accounts. And we can verify that by refreshing this. And you can see that I can only create new and I can only see, but I cannot edit and delete. Nothing to do, okay? You can see that on the screen. Now, I want to use a permission set. How do I use a permission set? Remember, I only want my manager to be able to delete, edit, and delete. A permission set can be assigned to the manager to extend user settings and permissions granted by the profile. So the first thing I will do is create new permission sets, and I'll call it accounting managers. Accounting managers. Okay? This permission set will be given to all accounting managers. And you select the Salesforce license, because only people that have Salesforce license should be given this permission set. That's what it means. So I say, now that I've created a permission set, how do I open up access in a permission set? Remember, you can change the view of this permission set to what we had before. The same way we did for profile, we can do this for permission set. You go to the object settings. And in the object settings, you go to the object of interest, which is accounts. Now that we have the object of interest, which is accounts, I edit this object of interest. Okay? After editing this object of interest, I want to do what? Give, edit, and delete. I want to give, edit, and delete access. Remember, permission set is different from profile. Profile is what you assign to the user. Permission set is what you use to open up what the user did not have based on their profile. As you can see, I click on edit and delete. Do you know why this read comes up automatically? The read comes up automatically because you cannot edit what you cannot read. Okay, so you have to start from read and edit. So you cannot edit what you cannot read. Now that you've given edit and delete access, you save. Now that you've saved this, you haven't done anything. You've only created a permission set and you've enabled edit and delete access on the permission set for that account object. That's all you've done. Now, you need to assign this permission set to a manager because the permission says accounting managers should have access to this permission set. I had the test user assign. You can assign multiple users, but obviously I'm only selecting one because we have limited users. I click on done. Now that I have assigned accounting manager's permission set for this user, guess what would happen? Previously, this user profile does not allow edit and delete. But because I have assigned a permission set for this user will now be able to edit and delete. So let's test this out. Oh, sorry. I need to go to the, okay. So previously, this user could not edit and delete, as you can see, but I have created a permission set which opens up access for edit and delete if the user is a manager. I have refreshed this screen. I have assigned the permission set for that user. Then I go back to this. I can see edit and delete. So technically, the permission set is used to open up access for a profile that is restricted. If you're given a task to open up access for a limited number of people, you use permission sets and assign it for that user. You do not create another profile because it's just limited number of people. This is an examination question. They will ask you, you are a new Salesforce admin. A user has just been added to your department. The group of users want extra ability to edit. This is temporary, it's not permanent. How would you address this situation? You address this situation by creating a permission set and you assign it to those group of users. Once they have access and they are done with their work, you delete that permission set. You don't need to edit the profile. The profile determines what the users can do. So if you go and edit the profile and add extra features, all the users that own that profile will see that features and you've messed up the org. You have messed up the Salesforce org. So you have to be very careful when you are answering business questions. Now, let's go back to where we started from. Right now, you've learned how to prevent records from being seen by everyone. You've learned how to edit, delete, create records in an object. When you click on an object records, you will see details. You will see details of that record. For instance, we have this account record and we have Dixon PLC as an account name, which is one of the details of this record. But we also have CC634267. We have the phone number 785-241-6200. These are all records these are all fields, okay? The fields as the records. Now, there is another level of security, which is called field level security. Field level security is different from object access security. The object access security is for your ability to create, edit, update, delete, and the likes. But the field level security is your ability to see and unsee, ability to read only or to edit. That is the field level security. You can take this account number off if you don't want the account number to be shown to certain group of users. You can remove the annual revenue off if you don't want the annual revenue to be seen by certain group of users. For instance, if you're working in the HR department, you manage a group of employees. You collect their details in the account object, but you don't want the employees to see each other's salary. You just want them to be able to read details of their profile, like the name of the employee, the address of that employee, and the likes. That's all you want them to see on the HR employee details object. How do you remove the salary? You remove the salary using field level security. The field level security is a second level of security for data access. How do you do that? You go back to the profile and you go to the accounting department. Then you go to objects settings. After the object settings, this is the objects permissions, right? Under the object permissions, if you go to the, just 1 minute. Okay, let me show you that based on, there are different ways to get to the field level for the objects, okay? This is what I typically use. I go to the field accessibility, then I go to the account, which is the object of interest. Then I say view by profiles. Then I select the accounting department profile. Then I look for the annual revenue. I click on edit. Then I say, I don't want it to be visible to the accounting department. I don't want the annual revenue to be visible because I don't want other people to see it. I take it off the page layout and I take it off the profile for that page layout and I save. So if I log in as a user that has accounting department, the user, let me refresh this. The user will not be able to see the annual revenue. Can you see? We cannot see the annual revenue again. Why? Because I have taken it off based on the field level security on the profile. Now, let me bring it back. I go back to field accessibility. You can also get it from the object manager, but I don't want to show you object manager yet because we haven't done that. We're going to do object manager tomorrow or maybe Wednesday. Field accessibility. I go to account. I choose the profile of interest, which is accounting department profile. I go to the field I want to take away. Right now it's hidden because I have already taken it away. I click on it and I bring it back to life. I make it visible. Now the field will be visible for the profile called accounting departments. If I go back to my logged in test user, I refresh, and you can see that, where's the revenue? Let me refresh so it kicks in. Sometimes it takes a bit of time because of cache and everything. This is the revenue, okay? This is the revenue. If you put the revenue there, it will show, okay? So you can see, just 1 minute. The revenue is not coming on the page layout. Just give me, let me check. I go to annual revenue for accounting department. I just want to make sure that the annual revenue is visible.
You didn't refresh.
Okay. I did not refresh. I thought I did. I saved. Okay. Let me just see from here first to make sure that I have it. Annual revenue is there, but I want to check it from the accounting department profile, which we are logged into. And I refresh this. Sometimes you can add refresh and stuff, but as you can see, the annual revenue is now shown. Okay, the annual revenue is now shown. That's how you hide and unhide the field in a record. That's one way to hide that field. The other way to hide the field in a record is by going to the page layout. The page layout is the way this page is laid out. So all the fields you see here, you can hide them. You don't have to show everything. How do you do that? You do that from the page layout. As you can see, by default, Salesforce creates different page layouts for different profiles. Salesforce creates different page layouts for different profiles. You can also create a new page layout and assign it to a different profile. Don't worry about that yet. We're going to come back. We're going to get to page layout when we start talking about objects. But for this lesson, I want you to know that you can remove the field from the page layout. As you can see, this page layout is the way this page layout is displayed. Account owner, account name, parent account, account number, etc. Go to the page layout, account owner, account name, parent account, account number, account site, etc. So if I take the account currency away, from the page layout, I will not be able to see the account currency again. So to take it off, you just click on remove. Now the account currency is gone. If you want to bring it back, all you just need to look for is the account currency and drag it back to the page layout. If you want to remove it, just click on the minus sign and it's gone. Then you save. Once you save, then you can go back to your front end and refresh to see if the currency is still present. Remember, you need to do a bit of refreshing, or you can just log out and log in to see. But ideally, 2-3 refreshes should kick in. Okay, so I'm just going to refresh this. And for you to find out the profile for that page, the page layout for that profile, you need to check if the page layout is the same as the page layout you are editing. Meaning that, what if the profile for accounting department is not using that page layout? So I want to go back to the profiles. I'll go to accounting department. I'll go to account page layout, okay? Account layout, okay? Then I can see that it's using account layout. Then you can go to, maybe if you want to view assignments, you can go to assignment just to see what profile is the accounting department using. The accounting department is using account layout, okay? So the expectation is the currency should go, okay? So the currency should go. Let's wait for a bit. I saved the page layout, right?
Yeah, but you showed us again that you can easily remove it. So you removed it. That was the last thing you did. You clicked the minus.
Let me go back to the page layout. Account layout. I removed it and I save. I can also preview it to see how it looks like. Preview as an accounting department. This is your preview. So it's going to show you how it's going to look like. As you can see, there is no currency there. The reason why you're seeing currency in that view is because of cash, and it takes a bit of time, but eventually it will go. So the preview is a source of truth. How you see it here is what the user will see eventually. Sometimes it takes a while to kick in, but that's what the user will see. So now, back to our subject of discussion. What's our subject of discussion? We are trying to see how to remove a field from a profile. So we're able to remove that field from the profile, okay? We're able to remove that field from the profile. Now, what if you want the manager to see that field? You want the manager to see that field, okay? But you don't want the team member to see that field. Just give me 1 minute. I want to check something. Yeah, I was going to enhance permission set component has that's not a problem. So I was going to enable certain view, but that's not a primary issue for now. I go to the permission set. Remember, right now we've taken the currency away. We've taken the currency away, and if you refresh this, you will see that the currency will be taken off because I think it has kicked in now. The currency, again, this is taking time. You probably need to refresh twice or 3 times. But as you can see from the admin point of view, the currency is gone, okay? So now you can use permission sets to bring that field level back to view. What you just need to do is, you don't need to create another permission set. You can use an existing permission set as long as it's the right people you want to give that access to. Then you go to object settings. You go to accounts, which is the object of interest. Then you edit. When you edit, you will now be able to add access for currency. Where's currency? This is currency, read access, edit access. By default, it was selected. Just give me 1 minute. I think field level ensures that. But again, let me go to the objects. Just give me 1 minute. Objects. Currency. So it's a required field. It's a required field. Required field would enforce that. If it's an ordinary field, you wouldn't be able to. You'll be able to manipulate that. So let me look for a field that is just casual field. I think we were able to see the casual fields in. We're able to see the casual fields based on field level security. Let's go to ordinary fields. I don't want to use certain fields that are mandatory or stuff like that. Let's go to field accessibility for a very light field. I'll go to maybe phone rating. I'll go to fax. No, industry. We can go to industry, I think. Let's see industry for accounting department. So we can just take it off, right? We can take it off. Or if we take it off, save. Then we can use the permission set to open it up, okay? We go to permission sets, and we go to the accounting manager's permission set. Then we can go to the object settings. Then we can go to the accounts. Then we can edit. Okay. We can enable the account objects. Let me go to, was it industry or fax or what was the field that I disabled earlier?
Industry.
Okay, yeah, we can just bring back industry, okay? We bring back industry based on permission sets. And because we already assigned that permission set to that user, then that user will still be able to see industry, okay? Even though industry has been removed from the layout, the guy will still be able to see industry, okay? So that's how you use permission sets to open up access. It's very important. You've learned about objects level security. They create, read, edit, delete. You've learned about the permission set. The permission set opens up the access. You've learned about page layouts. So page layouts, essentially, you can hide the field from the page layout, but if you're using API or other ways which you can see fields, maybe reports, it will still show on the reports, okay? So page layout is not the most effective, not the effective way to hide field. You use the field level security to hide field, but you can hide field or you can make them required or you can make them read only from the page layout, okay? You can make them required, you can make them read only from the page layout, okay? That's
I wanted to say that perhaps the reason why the currency is still showing on that account is because it's a mandatory field.
Yeah, that was what I said earlier. Okay. We made it required, and that's why it's still showing, because you need it when it's required, okay? For that particular profile.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So now that we know how to manipulate object visibility, we know how to manipulate field visibility, let's go further into what we have in store. We've done permission set. Okay, let's go to permission set group. So what's the difference between permission set and permission set group? Permission set groups is essentially a group of permissions. I think I tested it earlier. Permission set groups is essentially a group of permissions. So what do I mean by that? Earlier, I created accounting managers, and I gave edit and delete access for the accounting managers, okay? So now, if I have another object and it's maybe a case manager, and I want to give accounting managers access such as create and read or something extra, okay? The best way to do this is to edit this, and I'm gonna take industry away. Okay, I'm gonna take industry away. I will save. Then I'm going to create another permission set. Another permission set called industry field. Industry field. Okay? The industry field technically is just to open up industry field for whoever gets this permission. To open up the industry field on the account object to whoever gets this permission. I hope I'm making sense, because the only thing I'm just doing is breaking two permission sets into two permissions, breaking one permission set into two permission sets. Now that we have these permission sets, I can assign it to the manager right from assignment, okay? I have accounting managers and I have industry field permission sets. I'm going to edit the assignment here and take off the test user away. Can you see? This is how you remove an assignment. You take it off. I have removed this assignment. So if I go to my test user profile, my test user profile technically should not be able to edit and delete an account record, and should not be able to see the industry on the account record, which you can see right now. If I go to the right-hand corner, I cannot see any action, okay? So what does the permission set groups, what does it do? The permission set groups is just a quicker way to assign multiple permission sets at a time without having to assign it one after the other. You assign it collectively, meaning that I can just say accounting permissions, or I can say accounting manager permissions, save. So now I'm going to go to permission sets in the group, add permission sets, then I'll select the two permissions that I want to give the accounting manager. So I don't have to do it one after the other based on permission set. I automatically added two permission sets. And after that, I go back to my permission set groups. I manage the assignments. So it's like you doing two tasks in you using one stone to kill two birds. Now that I have this permission assigned to this user will be able to do that which was impossible for the user. If you go to the right and you be, let's refresh this. I think I assigned the assignment. The fact that I can see this, open it up, I can see the edits, okay? And I can see the deletes. And if I go back again, I should be able to see the edits and deletes. But please, always refresh. Don't get overwhelmed when you don't see things immediately. Make sure you refresh as much as possible. Then you should be able to see that stuff, okay? It takes a while sometimes, especially the page layout, but make sure you refresh. That's when you can see it, okay? So now that we've seen how you can extend the profile of a user, let's go to another section, which is called the role hierarchy and organization-wide defaults. What does that mean? Organization-wide default is set at the organization level. Remember, profile determines what the user can see. Organization-wide default is what the organization has set as a default. Then the profile will now restrict or open it. So how do you share records based on organization-wide defaults? You go to sharing and you go to sharing settings in the quick find. I'm going to go to account objects. The starting point of the organization-wide default is private, meaning that you can only see the record you create. You can only see the record you create. Public read only. You can see all the records you created and the records other people created within the org. You can see you cannot see all the records because you can only see the records you created and the record other people created in the org. Public read write. You can see and you can edit the records you created, okay? However, this is what you need to know. Let's start with private. And let's go to this. I'm just going to delete the first one because I did something earlier. I'm just going to delete it, okay? Actually, I cannot delete it because I tested something, but just ignore the first record, okay? Let's go to all accounts. This is all accounts created by the test user. Let's ignore this, okay? Let's just ignore this. And I can even make it better for you guys by just taking it out as an admin. Okay, I'll just go to accounts. I'll go to Burlington Textiles. Then I can just delete it so you don't get confused. Oh, I cannot delete it. Don't worry about what I just did, but what I did was just I shared that record with this user. And once you share a record with the user will be able to see it. So let's ignore that. Let's imagine that never happened. This is the account record. The organization-wide default settings for the account record is, for the account object, is private. A private organization-wide default means that the user will only be able to see the records they created. So I'm going to say new, and I'm going to create a record, and I save. I've created this record, and I can see that record. Perfect. I can only see the records I created. Okay? I can only see the records I created. If I go to the account objects, I can only see the records I created. Now, if this was set to, if the sharing settings was set to public read only, save, the user will be able to see all the records created by the user and other user in the system. The user will be able to see the records created by the user and other users in the system. Can you see? The user can now see its record and other user in the system. That's because the organization default settings is public read only. What you can observe is the user can edit the records they created, but the user, the user cannot edit the record they did not create. So let me show you that. I edit, I'll just say updated, save. Then I go to the record I did not create. As you can see, this is a record I did not create. I did not create. I go to edit, updated. I click on save. It gives me an error message saying you don't have the necessary privileges to edit this record. See your administrator for help. The reason why that error is displayed is because the user did not create this record, and the organization-wide default settings is set to public read only. I want you to take a step back and try to understand what's going on. The profile for the test user has edit access. It has edit, the permission set given as edit access. So technically the profile has edit access, okay? But let's even make it elaborate. Let's make it more pronounced. The profile has edit access and delete access. Let's just make it pronounced, okay? We save. The profile has edit access, but the guy cannot edit the records created by other users. Why? Because the organization-wide default setting says it is read only. Okay? Now, let's change the organization-wide default settings to public read and write. It takes about 1 minute to kick in. Once it kicks in, you get an email from Salesforce that organization-wide default settings has changed and blah, blah, blah. Okay? Now that we've set this to public read and write, if you go back to that user and you refresh this page, the user will now be able to edit the records, the ones that they did not even create. They will be able to edit it because now the profile says, the organization-wide default setting says you can edit as long as your profile says you can edit. This is a way of preventing and opening up record access. Let's take a step back. The object access level is controlled by the profile. With the object access level, you can edit, delete, read, and create records. However, at the organization-wide default, if it's set to private, you can only see the records you created. You can only edit the records you created. You can only delete the records you created based on your profile. But for other users, you cannot see, you cannot delete, you cannot edit if it's private. If it is public read only, you can only read it and do whatever your profile says you can do. If it is public read write, you can not only read it, you can also edit and delete. That is the power of organization-wide default. But the profile determines what action can be done. What do I mean by action again? The action is your create, read, edit. So let me go back to the profile. And I edit this profile. You know, now the organization-wide default setting says public read write, right? But even though it's public read write, if the profile does not give you the permission to read and write, it does not matter what the organization-wide default says. If the profile does not give you the permission to edit and delete, it does not matter what the organization default sharing says. Okay, so let me go to the organization-wide default sharing to see what we currently have. So what do we currently have? Public read writes. By default, technically, the user should be able to edit and update, right? But because the profile does not permit that, the profile of that user does not permit that, okay? The user will not be able to edit and, oh, sorry, of that, just 1 minute. It was created by it. Just let me refresh this. Again, I just need to disable that. I need to take off that permission set group. That permission set group is messing up our logic. I'll just take it off. So instead of you taking it off, you can also mute the permission. By muting the permission, you just disable whatever you've done, okay? But that's what they call muting permission. Muting permission essentially turns the permission you've given a particular user, it turns it off, okay? So now let's go back to this user. Remember, the profile says create only, but the organization-wide default sharing says public read writes. So let's refresh this, make sure that it kicks in properly. Then no action. We cannot do anything because the profile says you cannot do it. Even though the organization-wide default says you should be able to do it, but the profile says, no, 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 you cannot do it. Okay? So profile is the God. Profile determines what you can do. Permission set opens up the permission. Organization-wide gives you what the company says people can do. However, the profile determines what you can do. I think I'm going to stop here for today so we can continue tomorrow. I don't want to carry on because I want you guys to understand this. So I'm going to put a stop and I'm going to open the floor for you guys to ask questions pertaining or regarding to what we've learned today. Remember what we've learned today? We've assigned a user to a profile. We've created a custom profile, assigned a user to a custom profile. We've enabled create, edit, delete for that profile. And we've seen how things changes based on that action. We've learned that permission sets open up access. It does not limit that access. It opens it up. And we've learned that permission set groups just bring 2-3 items together and use one stone to kill 3 items that you're trying to achieve. And we know that the field level security can remove fields and can open fields based on profile. We also know that page layout can be used to remove fields and open up fields. We also know that page layout can be used to make a field required or read only, but it's not the perfect solution. It's just for the user interface because those fields can still appear in reporting. Okay, so I'm going to take a pause here, find out from you guys what you guys have learned, and open up the floor. Raise your hand up if you want to ask questions, and you ask me the questions. Please raise your hand up if you like to ask questions. I'll call you in accordance to hands raised. Okay, I'll start with Lara. Lara, please.
Hi, so my question is with regards permission sets, right? Is there a way to like set it for a limited period of time? So maybe you only want to grant that permission from the 1st to the 15th, for example, so that, you know, as an admin, you don't forget to go back and take off the permission if it's no longer required.
That's a good question. And the best way to do that is to use Flow. I will teach you Flow at some point during the training. The best way to do that is to use Flow. Flow would help you automate the process, but you cannot really specify a time-bound permission set, okay? As you can see, when we're creating permission sets, that wasn't given to us. That option was not given to us, the time which a permission set is enabled for. No. So you cannot expire a permission set. However, you can use Flow to expire a permission set based on created date. So it's going to be just after 2 weeks of creation. Then the Flow will trigger and the permission sets will still be active. Otherwise, it's going to be disabled. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Adewale, please.
Thank you very much, Babatope. You know, like I like the way you know you sound very clear, and but for me personally, I think well, I do use two screens. One screen for the lecture, and that's where my gaze is, you know, is mostly, and the other screen, you know, like when you are going through the steps and all that, and I try to simulate it as well, you know, I find it a little bit difficult to catch up, especially if I have to, you know, check, you know, both, if I have to quickly check the front end as well. So, I mean, what do you think is the best approach? Because, I mean, I've lost track at some point, especially where where you introduced account managers, and then you said, because it's a Salesforce license, we need to click Salesforce. So I missed that because, you know, like I have to switch to see the front end and everything. So, you know I can always go back to, you know, watch the video and maybe slowly begin to, you know, see the steps and all that. But while the lecture is going on, what do you think is the best approach? You know, and then maybe at, you know, I can also suggest that, you know, when you go through, when you do a particular procedure, a step, maybe you want to show us a second time. I understand time constraints, but, you know, whatever helps, you know, is what I'm actually out for at this point.
Okay. Ideally, tutorial sessions, which I give to subscribers, enables them to walk along the instructor or the mentor. But for these lessons, the approach is always been, you watch. If you're fast enough to follow that process, then you can follow the process. However, if you're not fast enough, you can watch the video, okay? As long as you're in this class, you should be able to see the video. But let me quickly just show you what I did when I was creating a permission set. This is not compulsory, as you can see, meaning that you don't have to select it. So this is where the license thing comes in, right? But if you've selected an option here, it means you have to assign to a user that has this license. So what am I trying to say? If you've selected, for instance, charter external, and you say charter people or charter user, okay, you save. Now go to manage assignments, add assignments. Let's give it to this guy. Salesforce user should be able to, let's just say. Permission set charter user was not assigned to one user. Can't assign permission set to this user. User license does not match. Okay? The reason why you cannot assign this permission set to that user is because the user license has Salesforce. Whereas you're trying to assign a permission set that was created solely for a charter user. So what does that mean? It means I can only assign it to someone that has a charter user, okay? That's what you need to match. That's why it's very important to know the license you're selecting before you create that. I want to see where is my charter user. Okay, I go to charter user and I can edit the properties, I think. I can just delete it and create it again, right? Just delete and make sure that when you're creating that permission set, you know the type of license. So let me go to a user and see the license I have for a particular user and create a permission set for that user. So what's the license for this guy? User integration. The license is Analytics Cloud Integration User. So when I go to permission sets, I create new, and I have to select Analytics Cloud Integration User, Analytics User, okay, save. Now, let me manage assignments, and I need to assign it to, I want to assign it to anyone before now. I want to assign it to this guy. I want to assign it to this guy. I want to assign it to this guy. It's not going to go. It's going to say permission set analytics user was not assigned to 3 users. See the message below. Can't assign a permission set because the user is inactive. Can't assign a permission set to this user. User license does not match. Okay? So let's try for a license that matches the permission set that was given to that let's try for the license that matches the permission set license, okay? Which is this guy, assign. Permission set analytics user has been assigned to one user because that license matches the expected license for that permission user. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And always feel free to watch the video. It's going to help you. Okay?
Yeah, I think I'm going to watch the video for sure.
Yeah. Isaac, please.
Yeah, I tried to create the set of account, but I didn't see it on my on the list.
What are you trying to create?
I'm sorry?
What are you trying to create?
Like the chart of account that you use today, you know, the accounting department. I created accounting managers. I saw that, but the accounts, I didn't see that.
I don't know. I did. Okay, let me start again. We have a profile. Salesforce gives us a selected profile by default. The reason why Salesforce provides this profile is because they want you to know how to set a profile for users, but you're not like based on best practice. You're not supposed to use the default profiles created by Salesforce. If you like the sales profile, clone it. If you like the standard platform user profile, clone it. If you like whatever profile you like, clone it. That's when you will start making changes to that profile. Once you clone, you say custom marketing or accounting profile. That means it's going to create a copy of this profile as a new profile. Then you will be able to now assign this profile to a user based on the settings you want to be available for the user. So now, if you have 10 users, you don't have to create 10 profiles. Just find out what department this user belongs. Then you create a profile for that department and assign all the users to one profile. If you have a manager, you don't need to give permissions to the manager from the profile. You will assign a permission set that opens up different access for the manager, okay? So you're in charge and take ownership of it. That's all. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah. Good. Omar, please. Omar, please. You're mute. Okay, if Omar is not speaking, Pearl, please.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Babatope. Thank you so much. At the beginning of the class, you had mentioned that while you train us, you're going to help us gain points on our trailheads. You're going to help us ensure we get up to 10,000 points. How do you intend to do that? I just want to have an idea. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So for you guys in general group, I don't think I need to motivate you to get 10,000 points. I believe your interest should spark that and you should be able to get 10,000 points. However, for the subscriber that I'm really pushing to get a job in 3 months, I do have maybe like a tutorial session for them to be able to follow a mentor and ensure that the mentor will guide them through whatever trailer challenges they are facing and they can achieve 10,000 points by December. So that's the strategy for them to get 10,000 points. But for you in the main group, I don't think you needed any motivation. You should be able to go and ensure that you can get 10,000 points. But my standard is for you to be Salesforce admin ready, you should be able to go to the trailhead and try to complete the trails or the trail basics for the Salesforce admin, which can be found here. And I can put it in the group chat as well. This is a trail maze for the Salesforce admin. As you can see, I did all this stuff myself as well. For me to be able to say I'm a Salesforce admin consultant or anything, I had to take becoming a Salesforce administrator, which has beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And I'm putting this in the chat for everyone to be able to see and take. Okay? Does that help answer your questions?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
No worries. Rosemary, please.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to ask if there's any impact when we clone a profile, like the Salesforce profile and license. We have two in the orgs that we use. So when we clone, like when we've created a user, me as the admin and the second person standard user has a Salesforce license. And then I want to clone the standard user's profile. Does that affect the number of licenses, Salesforce licenses available?
No. The profiles are not attached to a user license. meaning that you can create as many profiles as you like, as long as the user you are assigning that profile to has a user license, you are good. So the profiles does not limit or decreases the number of user licenses you have.
Yeah, that's actually great because you can use it to create as many standard user profiles that's been cloned, but just like give it another name using Salesforce license. Yeah. Thank you.
No worries. The next person is Edosa.
Thank you, Babatope. Sorry, I just wanted to ask this question. Can you create a profile or clone?
You don't create profiles. In Salesforce, I've said this like 3 to 4 times today.
No, sir, the reason why I'm asking is, since you've been teaching, you've been using create. So it, I know you've said it like, I think the second class, that you can't create a profile, you can only clone. So when you started using create, I'm confused again. I'm like, can we really create?
That was my mistake, and I will repeat again. When I say create, I meant you're creating a new profile, but you can only create a new profile from an existing profile. So technically, you clone a profile. You don't create brand new profile from scratch. You clone it from an existing profile.
Right, that is clear. That is what because I've been having that confusion when you've been, but I was just waiting for this time to ask that. So now my second question will now go to since you cannot create a profile but clone, do you have to consider the user license to any of the users that you already have? Because if you go to profile now, you see the profile that is already a standard profile that is already there. When you go to maybe let's say edit, you see these user licenses. So do you have to match the licenses that you're already giving to a user, or you can just clone anyone and give it to the user?
Again, for you to use a particular profile, you need to ensure that the user has the license. For instance, accounting department has a user license of Salesforce, meaning if you want to assign a user to accounting department profile, the user must have a user license, which is Salesforce user license. So technically, you cannot assign a profile of accounting department to someone that has a charter-free license. So you can test it. You can say, okay, I want to go to Charter Expert, if that even lets you assign. You go to Charter Expert. Sorry, my screen is just, I'll refresh this because my screen was selected. So we have this, right? And can you see what profile option do you see? You don't see the accounting profile option. Why? Because the accounting does not have or does not give any other user besides someone that has a Salesforce user license. Okay? So the license on that profile determines who you can assign it to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does for sure.
Okay, thanks. So I'm going to go to Comfort, please.
Okay, I just wanted to ask, please, can you just give like a real life example of a situation whereby you use permission set groups?
A permission set group, for instance, is a collection of different permission sets. For instance, you have the edit ability on account, and you can have the edit ability on maybe case, or you can have some other configuration. So a good example would be, I've created a permission set to open up an accounting object with edit and delete. This permission set should only be assigned to accounting manager. I've also created a permission set to open up login IP ranges for a particular group of users. I've also opened up a permission set for creation, create edit in case object for a group of support user. Now, if I know that the accounting manager would need the permission set to edit and create account records, and I know the accounting manager would also need case edit and create, and I know the accounting manager would also need to log in from certain IP ranges. There are two ways I can do it. I can individually go to that permission set and start assigning the permission set to the manager one after the other, which is like 3 steps. Or I can create a permission set groups and add all those permission sets inside one group and just do one click to assign to the person I want to assign it to. Okay, so that's the difference between assigning one after the other or just group it together and assigning once. So meaning that in future, I can just delete one permission set instead of deleting 3 permission set assignments.
Okay, thank you very much.
No
Thanks.
worries.
Yeah.
Shagun, please.
So my question is, looking at the profiles that we have, can I ask what's the purpose of each of the profiles to determine what a user can do? Maybe there's a level of restriction, or we can just use those profiles as default.
Again, that's a good question, but let's take an example of a read-only profile. Okay, a read-only profile. If you look at a read-only profile, you will see that in the object settings, what can you see in the object settings of a read-only profile? What can you observe?
Read.
Only
Only
read is enabled. So it eases up that process of having to manually click and unclick because I want to give read-only access to the user. Why should I now start from a standard profile that has more than the read access? So if you go to standard user profile, go to the objects. Can you see the amount of work you have to do to create a read-only profile from a standard user? So Salesforce gives you default profiles for you to quickly clone and give access to people. So you don't have to start on checking create, start on checking edit. It's just amount of work. The profile is the same for everything. The only difference is they are pre-configured to ease your operation as an administrator. It makes your life easier if you already have some default settings. So you don't have to think about security because you know that the read-only would only be associated to someone that can read only things. It wouldn't be someone that can have access to a lot of things that you do not want to give. And it's a security concern as well. Salesforce gives you minimum level access for read-only. Standard user, minimum level access for a standard user, meaning that they can create, read, updates, edit object, but they might not be able to do certain things that a normal profile like system admin will be able to do. Okay, so that's just the benefit of those profiles and the variations of profiles we have in Salesforce. Does that help?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. So now, okay, I'll ask Tammy and I'll go into questions and answer. So tomorrow we're going to continue this because I've talked a lot about sharing and I don't want to confuse you. Tomorrow we're going to finish up sharing, then we're going to do tests. Everybody will do a live test to see how well they've learned or they've known what I've taught in the last 3 days. The test I give you would be similar to what you should expect in your certification. So if you're getting 100% in the test, chances are you're going to do well in your certification exams. Okay? Tammy, please.
Good evening, Babatope. Thank you very much for this lecture. Mine is not a question, actually. It's the view from your profile. It's kind of different from mine. Mine just gives me an option from like A to like C. Then I have to click B and C to see customer object that starts with B. How do I see everything on one go?
So you want to see everything like this?
Yes.
I think I did something in my user settings, user management settings. You go there and you can enable, I think I disable profile list view, where you can enable it if it's enabled. Then you can enhance profile user interface and you can just enable some of these features and you see it the same way I've seen it. Okay?
Okay.
Just play around with that and you'll be able to see it. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think I've answered all of your questions. So let's do some questions.
I think I have a question, please.
Okay, sorry, Gani. I think I missed you. I'm sorry. Can you please ask your question?
Yeah, my question is on the licenses. That is chartered license and chartered free license. Can you please, expatiate on these two type of licenses?
Okay. So the charter license and charter free license, they are somewhat similar. Okay.
Okay.
They're somewhat similar. We haven't talked about charter, so it won't be a very nice thing to start explaining things I haven't taught you. But I'll just quickly show you guys. Charter free is 5,000, meaning that you're talking about charter free, right?
Yes, you mentioned it at the beginning of the class when you were talking about licenses. You mentioned charter free. So I was wondering, why do we have 5,000 and we have other licenses 20, 10, and 5, and under charter free we have 5,000. So I'm wondering why. Yeah, so that's why I brought up.
I haven't taught you charter, but I'll just quickly go to charter. Charter is technically or essentially Salesforce social media, or used to be Salesforce social media, meaning that you can engage your customer with charter-free licenses. So if you have a customer, you don't need to create a user account for them because user license costs you on average $2,000 every year. Why would you want to create or buy license for your customer that does not require you they don't need to log into their Salesforce org? If you want to create or you want to send message to your customer, you can send message using the charter. You can even invite your customer to start talking to them on charter.
Okay.
The license you give that customer is the chatting license. That's why it's called charter-free licenses. You enable them to talk on your Salesforce org without having access to leads, accounts, contacts, and everything like that. Okay? That's why it's a lot, but it's useless. Okay? According to me, it's useless. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Echo up,
Thank
please.
you.
Yes, thank you very much, Babatope. I just wanted to know, if you want to clone, must it be the standard profile alone that you can clone?
You can clone anything based on what access you're trying to give the user. As you can see, Salesforce has this asset, this profile called custom marketing profile, meaning that this profile is suited for someone that works in a marketing department. Can you see the objects that was given to this profile? Accounts, most importantly, look at campaigns. Only a marketing user should technically be having access to campaign because they'll be the one creating campaigns for the org or for the business. But support profile, what do you think they should be having access to? They should be having access to certain objects such as cases. Can you see? Certain objects such as cases. So Salesforce just makes it easier for you to think, okay? Salesforce makes it easier for you to think and collect different objects that are similar in roles. So you don't have to think too much about, oh, what should I give this guy? What should I give this guy? Just look at what function are they doing in your organization. Based on that function, you create profile that fits in the function they are doing in your organization. Okay?
Okay, perfect. And so basically it has to be related people who can work on the same task that should be given the same profile.
Exactly. Don't give people from different teams the same profile, because what if you want to open up this for this team and you don't want this? In fact, let's give an example. HR manager and the sales team. What is the relationship between the sales team and the HR manager? HR manager is dealing with sensitive information. Sales team is dealing with how they can sell. So why would you want them to be seeing profile of employee, salary of employee, and the like?
Got you.
You understand? So you create profile based on the function and the job role of that user in the system. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. Anita, please.
Okay, so I have a question. You said you will take a test tomorrow. So it would be you will ask online and we have to answer it?
I've not finalized it yet, but again, I told you the single login is where the single login applications is where you would be able to see your test. Okay? So if you don't have the single login application, you will not be able to see your test. And it is free. You can see it if you have access. We've made this training so easy and straightforward for people that can follow instructions. If you can follow instructions, you will enjoy this training because it's going to save us time and effort. It's free, but please follow instructions. So when the test is ready, you will see online assessments in your modules. As you can see, only 0 users are enabled for this module. Once the test is ready, maybe tomorrow or latest Thursday, I'll definitely make sure that you take a test this week to cover everything we've learned. And those tests will be aligned to your certification exams. Once you see this on Thursday, you open it and you take your test. So everything I've said since last week, you will see it in the test. And if you can get 100% in that test, you should be good enough for configuration and setup, which contributes to 20% of your certification exams. Okay? The only benefit is that those that subscribe, they will get extra help with preparing for tests and a certification. But for you guys, all you just need to go is single login, open online assessment, and you take the test and you see your results. Okay? Yeah. But it might not be till tomorrow, but I'm trying my best to make sure that it's going to be ready by Thursday. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No worries. Adiola, please.
Thank you very much. I may have missed this, but my question is, just like you can create multiple users, can you clone multiple profiles instead of one by one?
Yeah, you multiple profiles. I don't think you can clone multiple profiles. You can only. Why would you want to clone multiple profiles? What's the purpose?
But probably you just want to save time or something, just like you would create multiple users.
So the logic behind creating multiple user is because we want to save time. And you put in the information about cloning multiple profiles. If you clone multiple profiles, you're going to be creating the same profile with one click. So it doesn't save you time. It only messes things up technically. But again, the function is not even available because you can only clone a profile based on an existing profile. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So it wouldn't make logical sense to clone multiple profiles at the same time.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Rashida, please.
I don't have a question, but I know the last two classes that we had last week, you actually highlighted some exam likely questions. Like you'll get this. Could you please incorporate that from tomorrow? Like I didn't really get that today, but if you can, it would be appreciated. Thank you.
You're going to take the online assessment, which gives you exam likely questions for the areas we've covered. I said by Thursday, Friday, that definitely should be ready. I cannot guarantee it's going to be ready by tomorrow, but by Thursday, Friday, definitely it should be ready for you guys to start practicing. Okay? Savvy, please.
I have a question which I have put it in the chat. Is it possible for you to see it, or should I read it out?
What does data administration field means in standard objects? Permission under profile. What is the difference between edit and modify all? That's a good question. So let me answer the second one first.
Okay, thank you.
The second one says edit and modify all. Sharing settings. Sharing settings, when I was explaining sharing settings, I said we can put sharing settings as private, public read only, and public read and write. So what does that mean? If we put it as private, the user will able to read the records they created. Okay? However, if the profile of the user says, if we go to the profile of the user, that's a very good question. If you go to the profile of the user and you select view all, the view all will override the private settings, and as such that the user will now be able to view all data regardless of whether the user regardless of whether the organization says is private or not. Okay, so if you go to the user right now, because the user has a view all permission, the user will still be able to read, view all the records on the account because of its view all permission. Okay, even though the organization says it's private. Similarly, if the organization says it's private and you give the user modify all, the user will be able to edit all records regardless of what the organization default says. So organization default set this base standard, but the profile now enhance that standards and creates extra features or extra actions for that user. Okay? Does that answer your question?
So you mean to say whenever I select the data administration ticks on it, like view all or modify all, then it overrides all other organizational access which has been given, right?
Again, let me say that again.
Like
the sharing settings. Okay, the sharing settings.
To show it with an example so that it'd be easy.
I just showed you right now. This is private.
Okay.
By default, private means I can only see the records I created. That's the organization default sharing is private. I can only see the records I created. However, my profile says view all for the department, accounting department, which means even though I did not create this, I can still see all the records from other users. That's what modify all and view all means. Modify all means you can edit, but view all means you can see. So I'm looking for the data administration, which is just the heading of view all and modify all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, got it. Yeah, thank you.
No worries. So I think I've answered all the questions. So let's kind of like go through some scenarios of possible use cases of what we've learned today. Okay? I'm going to ask this question.
My hand is up as well.
Sorry, who's that?
Omo.
Omo, please. Sorry, I think I must have missed Omo. Omo, please.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to ask how you were able to, be on backend and frontend at the same time with the same login. Is it because you opened in incognito?
Yes, that's right. The reason why I was able to switch between my screen was because one was open in incognito and one was open in my normal browser. So incognito is a different session and my normal browser is a different session.
Okay, all right, thank you. Then my next question is, I heard someone saying you can have more than one license. Is that true? And also, if you have one license, whatever license it is, a particular type of license, irrespective of whatever it is, can you upgrade to any other one? Or are there advantages and disadvantages? If you have a particular one, is it possible for you to move to another, or there could be some that won't permit you? Thank you.
Okay, that's a good question. And again, I'm going to go back to licenses, although you're not supposed to know elaborately what all these licenses do in Salesforce. However, the most common license you will get is a Salesforce license that enables you to use the Salesforce platform. There are other licenses such as Salesforce platform, customer community login, work.com. All these are special platform. So for instance, Salesforce license gives you access to the Salesforce org. Salesforce platform has limited objects you can see or use. So what I would do is I'm going to give our test user a Salesforce platform license. But before I do that, I would like to show you what the test user can currently see because it has a Salesforce license, okay? Can you see that it has tasks, it has leads, it has opportunities, account contacts, cases, and the likes. So now I'm going to assign a Salesforce platform license to the user instead of a Salesforce license. And because I'm assigning a Salesforce platform license, I cannot even assign the custom profile I created because the custom profile I created was for a Salesforce license. Okay? I save. And now I go to my user and I refresh. Can you see? The user does not even have access to my sales app because the license the user has does not grant the sales app permission. When we go into our next topic, which is objects and platform app building, we are going to see how this plays out. Because when you create an application, you assign to a profile. And if the profile the user has does not grant access, or if the application is not given to a certain profile, the user will not be able to see that application. So as you can see clearly, the user cannot access the sales app anymore. Why? Because we have assigned a license that does not grant that application for the user. So the license is very important. Salesforce license is the right license to assign for a user. Salesforce platform license limits the objects the user can see, and so on and so forth. Okay?
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
No worries. So let me see. I think someone raised their hands up again. Adiola, have I attended to you?
Yes, please. I forgot to put down my hand. You have.
No worries. Opeyemi, please.
Yeah, thank you, Babatope. So please, can you quickly navigate to your sharing settings?
Sharing settings?
Yes. So the second column, default. So I have two questions. Default external access. Is that for maybe customers trying to connect, log into your Salesforce platform? And number two, what's the field there, controlled by parent?
That's a good question. Default external access is for community user. We haven't talked about community user. I don't think we're going to talk about community user for admin, but default external access is used for Salesforce community platform, meaning that Salesforce has what they call sites, just like you're creating a website. Okay? You can create a website, and this website will be available for your customers. Okay? When you create this website, then your customer will be able to access certain records which you've given them access to. Okay? So this external access shows the sharing settings for that external website. So you can actually display your data that you're seeing in Salesforce on a website within Salesforce. And the permission here determines what those users can see. Okay? Just the same way your internal user is being restricted, you can restrict your external user. Now, the controlled by parents, we're going to get there maybe on Wednesday or Thursday. The control by parents is as a result of relationship. When you create objects, you can create two types. Commonly, you can create two types of relationship. The first one is master detail relationship. I don't want to go through there yet right now, but you can create two types of relationship. The first one is master detail relationship, and the second one is lookup relationship. When a relationship is master detail, by default, the permission, the access for the detail will be controlled by the master. In this case, they call it parents. So what does that mean? It means that if you have a big house and you have a boys' quarter or whatever permission you've given to for the master, the big house, will be controlled by whatever permission you have for the child, which is the detail, will be controlled by the parent, the master. The master has the overall permission, and the detail will be based on the master, meaning that if the master say, I can create, then the child can create. If the master say, I can delete, the child can delete. If the master say, you cannot create, the child cannot create. If the master say, the child cannot delete, the master cannot delete, the child cannot delete. That's what it means. Control by parent, control by the parent, the owner, the parent, the master. Okay, we haven't done it yet, so I wouldn't want to spend too much time on it. But when we get there, you understand better. Control by parent means it is being controlled by the master. Okay, as you can see, accounts and contacts are master child, master detail, meaning that contact is a detail, account is a master. then the contact will be controlled by the account, meaning that it's going to be controlled by the account. Whatever account has, the contact would also have. But let's get there. I will explain further when we get there. But for now, let's focus on what we've studied in class. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I answered everyone. So let me kind of like give you some scenarios and you tell me what the solution will be. A finance manager needs access to all accounts. Okay? A finance manager needs access to all accounts. Accounts are not included in the finance profile. How would you solve this as a system administrator? You have a finance profile given to all people working in the finance department. Okay? The finance manager needs access to all accounts records, but accounts is not included in the finance profile. How would you solve this problem for the finance manager?
Permission sets.
Permission set opens access to.
Permission sets.
Great. Permission set will be used to open up the account objects, and you assign that permission set only
to the manager.
To the manager. Because if you edit the profile for finance and you give account access, you're going to give it to everyone in the department, which does not make sense, okay? So always think about it before you make that changes. That's the use case of permission set. Let me give you an example. The administrator is testing a new application with a sales object. Select users are helping to test the app as it is not ready for a general release to the entire org. How would you grant access to the selected users?
Permission set again. Permission set groups.
Okay, you guys are ready for the next level. Thank you, guys. I think that's all from me. If you don't have any other questions, I think we're good for today. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow where we'll finalize this sharing control and we'll move into something more interesting. Take care of yourself and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.